everybody, and welcome to this special presentation of my own High Elf army, and I would like to go through the progress of where I'm at with the army and the regiments I've painted so far and what I hope to include in the future, and a bit of a shout out to the people who have helped me get this far. So we'll go through unit by unit, but overall I'm really happy with this sort of a passion project, really. High Elves were my first army, and it was really the catalyst that got me started into Warhammer completely. Even though I am a bit of an old hammer, I started with 3rd edition but never got to play it, or I had some models for it, of course, that I collected as a young guy, about 17 or so, 16 or 17, but it wasn't until 4th edition came out that we had a comprehensive set with both armies and loads of stuff and sort of easy and simple rules to get through, and that really sort of set everything off. And so this has been a real joy to sort of come back and revisit the High Elves, because there are some, I think, not only iconic models, but I think still some of the best models ever produced for its time. And really that they are timeless models. They haven't aged, in my opinion. So we'll go through and have a look at each unit individually, and just see where I'm at with the project and my thoughts on the painting progress or painting process of each of the models. Okay, so if we should look at the army as a whole, we should really start with the regiments, and I think we'll end with the characters. So this is my Spearmint regiment. They're all plastic models bar one. There's one metal model in the front rank that I painted as sort of a paint and chat kind of thing I'm not saying many years, about a year and a half ago or something like that, at least 12 months ago. And I was really looking forward to doing these because, for one thing, there's not much white on these. There's just a skirt, down the bottom, the bottom part of their skirt and their sleeves maybe. The rest is just all mail coats and red, lots of red. And of course you can see I painted them in non-metallic metals. That's probably one of the only things that are different from the originals. In that the originals were painted with metallic paints. I prefer not to do those. I prefer doing with non-metallic paints. They just look cleaner, and they're just cleaner paints to use and work with. And I like painting in all the definitions and giving the process and technique of painting non-metallic metals is a lot more difficult. But I can see the positives of using metallic paints as well, and some people can really use metallics really well. I never really got to master them that well, so I liked the non-metallic metal look. And they're Spearmint. What else can I say? But again, in getting this all together, I needed help. So my good friend Georg in Austria supplied me with the plastics. Also Dan in Queensland helped me out with getting some of the plastics too. The command models, I believe they also were part of a trade or sale deal I did at some point. Maybe somewhere from Australia I got those, and some from maybe from the UK as well. But really happy with this unit. You can see a bit of a distinction between the plastic and the metal models. If you were to compare the plastic and metal, the metal a bit more slender, the mail is a lot more finer, and thanks to Georg and to my good mate Gordon Innes in Scotland, I can actually assemble a 20-man metal Spearmint unit, which will be coming up next, because I want 40. And the reason why I want 40 is because I would like to do the one of the scenarios from the 4th edition High Elf book, pitting the High Elves against the Goblins, which are part of all the starter set. and that was famously played by, I think it was Michael Perry or Alan Perry and Nigel Stillman. So yeah, I've still got more work to do, but I'm really happy I've got the foundations laid in there with some Spearmint, and they're a beautiful looking unit to, and especially with the command unit. I love the command unit. I try to do the same gold coloured weapons they had inside the inside cover of the 4th edition army book. Just love how those guys look. Such cool models, and they haven't aged at all. They're still as beautiful models as you'd find today. I found, and I love that guy with the champion with the spear. I just love that figure. So the shield was hand painted, just like the original one, and I painted the runes on the staff, like the shaft of it, I should say. And the banner was photocopied from the 4th edition book, and it was then sealed with some varnish, and then I painted over the top of that. So that was the process, guys. Now the spear shafts are a little bit wonky. Some are quite old, and they do get beaten up over time. So that is one thing I do like the metal ones over the plastic ones. The plastic ones, they tend to droop, or you knock them in a bad place, and they get a little bit sort of askew here and there. But thankfully, these are the ones that survived all these ages, and the transportation and that kind of thing. So yeah, really happy these guys are on the tabletop now. All right, let's move on to the archers. And here we have the archers, all 20 in fact. So with command, and there are some metal models you'll see that have been squeezed in there thanks to my good mate Tim Baxter in the UK. We're in the process of doing like a trade for banners. I found a whole heap of banners that I had here that I no longer had use for, and Tim needed some banners. And sorry Tim, I haven't sent those out yet, mate. I will do that very soon, next week in fact, for you, buddy. So thanks again, mate, for those metal archers. That's exactly what I wanted, because if you look at the 4th edition battle report and the 4th edition High Elf book, they've sort of intermixed a lot of the metal and the plastic archers together. So I really wanted to get that very authentic look of the same kind of units, even down to the models and that kind of thing. So I'm really happy to do that now. Also, some people picked up on the bases being this different color. It's like a slightly different hue in green. I actually sort of did that on purpose, because if you look at the 4th edition books, a lot of like the way that Mike McVeigh painted his bases were different than the other guys. Some had more of a yellowy green, some had more of a vibrant green. So I really wanted to capture that as well. As crazy as that sounds, I really wanted the authenticity of the base colors as well, the different sort of shades of goblin green. So they're the archers, really proud of those. I mean, it's a bit of a slog getting through, rank and file miniatures, as we all know. And there's a lot more white on these guys than there are on the Spearmen. But thankfully, they don't have shields. So that's one good thing to take away from the archers. But yeah, great iconic models. And there'll be another 20 of those coming up. I do have only 6 of them painted now, but I'm working on some more as well. And again, I need to get another 20 all together. So I've got probably another 12 or so to go. All right, guys, let's move on to the bolt thrower. And here are the bolt thrower teams. So, there's not a lot really to say about them. They're just sort of very straightforward, but great little models, still held up against the test of time. Great looking models to look at. I much prefer these than the later iterations of the repeating bolt thrower for the High Elves, personally. All I did really was to differentiate between the two, was just to paint that little top of their feathers, head feathers, differently. And I do plan to paint one of the guys holding the swords with the little blue diamonds pattern freehand on his robes, because I think one of the crews in the heavy metal team were painted that way. Whether they did that to distinguish one from the other team, I'm not sure. And I actually had 3 of them, but I thought I'll probably never use three of these guys, so I actually gave one to a mate of mine who's also a high elf player. So I hope that gets painted eventually by him, and he can use that in his own games. But thank you again to Georg, and thank you again to Jesse in New Zealand for acquiring these models for me, mate. So appreciate that. And now let's go on to some Swordmasters. Okay, and here we have the Swordmasters. Beautiful models. I had about 16 of those in my original army, so I was really looking forward to getting these back again and to relive the memories and painting them. So I only did 10 initially for a battle report we did. I think it was with Jesse, and it was it the Enchanted Sword of Far or something like that. And it was one of the cool, I think it was a 4th edition game we played in a live stream, but I needed 10 of these guys, so I painted up 10. And that's one really good motivator that I say for anybody: get some games in, plan some games to get your models painted, because it really works for me. Anyhow, these models are absolutely fantastic. I love the sort of the posturing to them, because some guys are sort of leaning over because of the weight of their swords, and I love the stockiness to them. They're designed by Ali Morrison, so they're quite distinctively different from the very slender, very almost petite nature to Jez Goodwin's elves. These look like real stocky, hardened warriors. So yeah, love painting these guys. Most of them are all in non-metallics. The commander especially I really love as well, with that sort of fist pump pose that he has there. There was all just heaps of joy painting these guys, and I thank again Tim Baxter for letting me acquire some of these, mates. So thank you very much again. I will get on to painting the other 10 of those to make a nice unit of 20, or maybe even 24. We'll see how we go. And maybe they definitely need a standard bearer and a musician in that unit as well. But really enjoyed painting these guys, and they are a must include in my high elf army. Let's go on now to the chariot. Okay, so here's our chariot. I really enjoyed painting this model. It's one of my favourite all-time chariots ever. I don't think there's any other chariot that beats this one in terms of design, aesthetics. The Charioteer is just such a rock-solid looking guy. It just reminds me of David Bowie. I don't know what it is about it, but I think if David Bowie was ever cast in a fantasy movie, this is what he would be looking like. This really elaborate, over-the-top helmet with the headdress, and he's just he looks like a character, and I think I actually played it as a character in that 4th edition live stream scenario game I played, and he was my commander. And I don't think there's any other model more befitting that role, really, in terms of the model design. I think he just looks like a commander, the way he's posed there. I did have a spare Teklas. I actually had about 2 of them, I think. And so I cut off the top of the staff and used that as the top of my banner pole. This is made out of I think it's like a 2mm piece of PVC plastic. And the banner was painted and photocopied out of the 4th edition book. But unfortunately, like a lot of those double-sided banners that I realised later, they don't actually line up. So you will have, even if it's out by 0.5 millimeter, it will make a big difference. And so there was a lot of, trying to get it right, and I had to curl it so you couldn't see all the bad parts to the banner. And maybe you can pick them out already, but unfortunately, that was the case. Look, and if I need to repaint it, I probably will do it at one stage. It's not a big drama. Just pull off the banner pole, cut off the banner itself, and repaint another one and attach it. So, but for the time being, I'm very happy with how it looks. It came without horses. It came without the horses. I purchased from a guy in Australia in a lot deal. I bought it with some, actually with some other Swordmasters too. I think he had like 10 with a command. So yeah, bought it without horses. So thanks to a gentleman in, I think it's Denmark or Sweden, he had a lot of these horses spare, which is unbelievable. So yeah, I was happy to be able to purchase some of him. And I think Marcel from Germany helped me out with the wheels because I had the wrong wheels with it. Had a different type, like wheels for a war machine, like a cannon or something, not these wheels. And I only noticed that later, and Marcel picked up on it and said, oh look, if you need the wheels, I'll send them to you. So thank you again, Marcel, for that. Really appreciate it, mate, because now I've got a real authentic looking 4th edition chariot. So after that, I think we'll look at the silver helms. Okay, so these are the high elf silver helms, and thanks to Georg and thanks to my good mate Matthias, I was able to assemble at least a unit of these, which I'm really happy about because they are my favourite cavalry models apart from the Dragon Princes. Such beautiful models, and they were real a joy to paint. So if you haven't seen the painting tutorials, I did one for the champion. That was part of the Gathering of Mighty Painters challenge. It was a 4th edition army challenge that people could paint, to their desired point level. And I really enjoyed doing that challenge. And yeah, well, a lot of the high elves were produced out of that, thankfully. So and now I can enjoy playing them on the table, which I'll be doing tomorrow, giving them their first run out on the field. So I look forward to that. And yeah, I mean, their challenge. If you want to paint them exactly like they did in the studio, there's a lot of freehand to do with that. So as you can see, each horse has an individual sort of dual freehanded painted on its barding on the rear of the horse, and it's done on both sides. And it's they've got one on the very head top crest of their head as well. So there's quite a lot involved in painting a unit like this if you wanted to do it authentically. But once you've done it, I mean, they're one of the most prettiest looking units you'll find in Warhammer Fantasy, I think. So yeah, really enjoyed painting it. Some of the tails of the horses had to be I've got like a little mold for those, because a lot of the horses, when you buy horses, they don't come with tails, so I had to get one of the tails, make a mold, and then reproduce those out of green stuff. And that was how I got around that, because yeah, secondhand market, buying plastic horses, the chances are they won't come with tails. So be prepared to have to mold one up at some point, if that's it will make one if that's how you're going to get your tails on there. But yeah, really glad I got this on the tabletop now, and I look forward to playing them tomorrow. Let's hope they do well. And this is an eagle that my mate Marcel, my good friend Marcel in Germany, had acquired for me, because apparently I couldn't find one like on my local eBay here, but in Germany, if you go into the German eBay, you've got tons of them apparently. So, and I think that's the case for a lot of Warhammer stuff based in Europe, especially around Scandinavia. It was very, very popular. So I was really happy to get one of these Trish Morrison Giant Eagles for my High Elf force. I think I just needed one because Eagles and High Elves, they just, you just got to have one. So it came with this flying base, which I think is appropriate, and it was easy to put together. It was quite easy to paint. A lot of it's just dry brushing, but I really enjoyed painting because I've never painted one before, and it was really nice to get hold of one of Trish's beautiful giant eagles. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting one of these little beasties for your High Elf armies if you do actually have one. And yeah, because they're just a really nice iconic model to paint. Why not get 3? That's what I'd say. These are the Shadow Warriors, and I really love them. I love the look of them in the High Elf book, and I really wanted to get my unit to be almost exactly the same as them. Now, not to say that I could paint as well as the painter who painted them. I don't know who painted them. I think Mike McVeigh said it was Torben, but I don't think Torben was working there at the time. So I'm thinking it was the other Danish painter that was working at the studio then. Or it was Kev White, maybe. He's an amazing painter as well. So I hope I could sort of attain somewhat of that quality that they did for the originals, because I really enjoyed painting these guys more than any other of the regiments, to be honest. Now, some people may or may not like these models. I really love them. I mean, they have the DNA of Ali Morrison in them. They're like dwarves with high elf helmets on them. I mean, they're very stocky. They're very, very bulky, and the Swordmasters are the same. But I really like them. I really, really like these models. I think they're beautiful, and I just love painting every aspect of them. So that was a great project. So thank you very much again. I think it was Stephen in Scotland who we did a trade on some dwarves for some of these guys. I think it was 8 of them. And then Daniel Hopkins from the US kindly donated 2 of them to me to make up a unit of 10. So thanks, guys, for that. I really appreciate your help. So 3 of the character models that I got to paint were really a lot of fun to do. One was sent, the unicorn and the mage was sent to me by Jesse. So thanks, Jesse. He found it in one of his boxes when he was moving or something. He said, "Hey, Josh, would you like one of these?" And I said, "Yeah, mate, I definitely want one of those," because not only is it such a wonderful Trish and Ali Morrison miniature, but it's also required that I need one of those for the 4th edition scenario, as they do feature a high elf mage on a unicorn, the exact model. So yeah, it was a pleasure to paint. I sort of painted it in very sort of, bright colours to match the look and theme of the high elves, as the original one was a lot darker, because I think it was like more of a 3rd edition model, and it didn't really look like a high elf. It looked more like a wood elf or something. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting model. The unicorn model itself is just beautiful, and it's held up against the test of time, as most Trish Morrison models do. So there's nothing out there that will beat it, I don't think. So enjoy painting that. The central model was gifted to me by, I think, John Joe, made here in Japan. He was sort of clearing out a lot of excess stuff that maybe he got from other people and he wasn't going to do anything with, so I really enjoyed that. That was a Gary Morley model for 5th edition, actually. But I think it really fitted in well with the army, because if you look at the army list in the 4th edition book, and the last one's a bit of a golden oldie. That's a Jez Goodwin, I think it's a high elf mage from 3rd edition, and it actually featured in one of the last 3rd edition battle reports in White Dwarf, where they had like some elf mage in the dwarves, and they were battling against Bretonians or something like that, I think. And it was like over this tomb, and the tomb had undead in it. It was a great battle report, and yeah, this model featured in that, and it came with the lot that Georg sent with me, because he bought like a big lot of high elves from some guy there for very cheap money. And this is one of the models that was included in it. And yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I mean, it just fits on the plastic horse, because those horses that it came with were really, really thin. They were metal horses. So I just got it to fit on there. And it's got its Donga wand, which is, pretty pretty spectacular looking, but I thought it painted in purple, a little bit different than the other models, but I think it works well. It sort of contrasts nicely, especially against all the white and everything. But yeah, really great model, and I did some freehand down the bottom of the barding, and I painted sort of like this little freehand icon at the back of the part of the barding as well, just to make it a little bit more special, to make it stand out a little bit more. But yeah, great model. It was really nice to paint. Really enjoyed that. So thank you very much, Georg. Now this is a bit of a special one, because it's Eltharion. And Eltharion is a model I painted way back when I had my high elves. When I was a young lad of 18 or 19 or something like that, I painted one. Beautiful model. I really tried to get it as close as I could to the Mike McVeigh, stupendous paint job in the 4th edition book. At that time, I was really happy with it. I mean, it didn't look exactly the same, but I was really happy with how it came out. This time around, again, I tried to emulate Mike's work in terms of color scheme and that kind of thing to try to match. I really enjoyed painting the Griffin. It's such a beautiful model. Again, another Trish Morrison masterpiece. And again, it's just a timeless model. You could use that now, and someone would think that it's a new release. It's that good. So thanks so much to Daniel Hopkins for sending me this, because he had ordered one through the mail order in the US at the time, way back when it was still available. It came in the post, and inside it was a mispack because one of the claws missing. So he told them they sent him a new one with the claw. So he had this sitting around forever, and he thought he'd never use it. So he heard that I was starting this high elf project, so he kindly donated this to me. And thank you so much again, mate. I did a painting exchange with Jesse in New Zealand, and he gave me Deathclaw, the Karl Franz Griffin, and I used one of his claws and attached it to Stormwing so that I could actually fully assemble this model. So thanks to you chaps, I have a fully complete Eltharion, which I will use tomorrow in tomorrow's big game, but as a hero on Griffin. So I really look forward to using him in our big elf versus elf battle. And I thought I'd leave the best till last. That's of course Tyrion and Teklas, the two brothers in arms. Again, people would have remembered if back in the day when they got one of the old Hammer magazines, White Dwarf, and they saw these two models featured as part of the new range of models coming out, and they were just like in greens basically back then. And people really, excited about it because Jez was coming up with this wonderful new take on the High Elves, and there was something new because they were part of the 3rd edition lore and that kind of thing, but they had similar design cues to what 4th edition had, but at that time something happened there, and I think all of the designers, they just their skill just bumped up a level. They just advanced. Like Kev Adams came up with these night golems, which are just amazing, and Jez did the High Elves, which are just beautiful, and the Perrys came up with this amazing looking Empire army, and everything really started picking up from there, and it's sort of just like as if they just went up a notch in design skill or something. It was just a really special time. So I really fondly remember that issue where I saw those models, and I was really excited about to see what was happening with that, and then they released, and I bought Teklas. I painted it. I actually painted it yellow, strangely enough. I painted the coat in yellow. I don't know why. I obviously don't have that model anymore. That's long gone now. I think that's in someone else's collection. But coming back to paint Teklas again and doing it in the proper blue, and looking at the amazing painting from Mike McVeigh, that those levels of painting are just unattainable for almost every painter. There was something just really special, I think, about that with Mike and Jez at that time, because I think Mike would probably say himself that they're probably the best models he's ever painted, and I'd believe it. I did try to paint the icon on the back of Teklas's cape, and I will go on to paint on the other icons as well, because it's got all the Colleges of Magic icons on there. That's actually featured in the 5th edition book. I don't know if that was actually done on the original model. I have a feeling it wasn't. I think that Mike came back and repainted a couple of little things on there, touched it up, changed the base, and then painted some more freehand on it. That's my understanding. I'll have to ask him about that. Tyrion was a model I've never painted before. That came with the lot that Georg sent me, and I was really excited about that. A lot of the stuff was actually painted before, probably somebody back in the 90s. I just stripped it all back and respray them and all that kind of thing. But yeah, painting Tyrion was like one of the things I was really looking forward to, because it is such a stonkingly good model. You don't have to use it as Tyrion, you could use it as your commander. I mean, look at that helmet. I mean, it's just oozing obnoxious elf all over the battlefield. So yeah, I mean, it's nowhere near the heights of Mike McVeigh's painting level. I know that. I mean, I need to be 20 years younger with 20 years younger eyesight to even, you know, get close to that with all the skills I've got now. But I really enjoyed doing that. It's probably the best thing I've ever painted in terms of miniatures, especially for this kind of stuff, for Herohammer sort of painting. I do believe it's probably the best thing I've ever painted. So yeah, a lot of love went to that model, and I look forward to doing some kind of scenario where we have Tyrion and Teklas in some big battle against, you know, maybe Dark Elves or something like that. I think that'd be great to see. So we'll have to organise something like that. Maybe some of the community members can put together a scenario for us to play out. That'd be really fun to do. But apart from that, guys, that pretty much concludes the Army Showcase at this point. Hope you've enjoyed watching this. Hope it's inspired you to paint your High Elves. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer painting questions or anything like that. And the next units I'll have to paint are another 20 Spearmen, another 20 Archers. So not that exciting, but I hope to include some other units. So the other units I'm looking at into acquiring are the Dragon Princes, at least 5 or 6 of those guys. The Phoenix Guard, which I absolutely love. The models are just beautiful. At least 16 to 20 of those, and 16 or 20 of the White Lions. And I think that's it in terms of regiments. Oh, the Libyan Reavers, they're like the skirmishing unit. If you have those models and you don't want them and you want a sort of exchange for painting, let me know, and I'll certainly try to help you out with some kind of deal there. That's how I acquired a lot of my miniatures are acquired through that paint to, you know, acquire miniatures basically. So I'm at your mercy. So if you do have models, like especially the Dragon Princes, I mean, that'll be awesome to see painted up, or any of the specialized units. I'm also looking for Imric on the Dragon and the Hero on Pegasus, which I think is one of the outstanding character models from the range. But anyway, guys, until next time, I might feature my Dwarf Army next. But until then, we hope to have some other community members featuring their armies, so look forward to that. But thanks very much for watching, and take care, and see you in the next one.